Hello, folks. Thank you for coming in a little bit later than usual because I had to go to a basketball game for one of my nieces. So that was very important, and we won. So that's the key. Victory over other 9-year-olds is very satisfying. All right. What I usually do is I mention the past 7 daily inspirations, and then I let you guys go ahead and choose one of them, and then we start from there. All right, here we go. Pat, the last 7. Today is the 14th. Okay. October 7th, creating a kinder world. October 8th, experiencing our wholeness by gifting it away. October 9th, understanding the acts of frustration and anger. October 10th, forgiveness, peace, joy, and gratitude as core inherent values. October 11th, today, enjoy the bounty of your harvest. October 12th, releasing the present from the past and future. And October 13th, celebrating our eternal nature. Any of those sound good for you guys?
Could you do the one about the celebrating our eternal nature, please?
Okay.
My friend just passed. Is it
Oh,
possible?
yeah.
Okay.
I'm sorry to hear that. Your
Yeah.
friend, the friend that had cancer?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. October 13th, celebrating our eternal loving essence and nature. Paragraph 1. Your eternal essence and nature is the love that God is. You are what is eternally within, not the temporal image in the mirror that the ego has you constantly judge and criticize. The ever-changing aspect of the ego's delusional, judgment-centric, fear-based mindset are in direct opposition to your eternal loving essence and nature. You, birthed from the divine, all that is, are real. The ego, placing itself in opposition to all, is nothing, not real or true. You are not the mask you wear. You're not the body that eventually withers away and returns to dust. You are not the judgment-centric, fear-based thoughts, beliefs, and words that you have been programmed to spew. You are not the regrets and sorrows that seem to cruelly separate you and make you feel different from your joyful source. You, the truth in you, are the eternal, loving child and creation of love, of God. And while in this world, you are love and only love in physical form. Today, paragraph 2. Today, let us focus on the eternal and not the temporal, on the spirit and not the body. The spirit's true essence is love, and love, being our creator, is the eternal in us. What the body thinks, says, and does in time does not override the eternal nature of the soul. All of love's expressions are signs of our eternal essence. When we align and express any of them, in essence, we are accomplishing today's goal. Still, know that the ego will not go quietly into the night. Be aware of the ego's efforts to have you focus on the body, the temporal, instead of the soul. Peace is one of love's numerous expressions. As love's child and creation, peace is your divine inheritance. Peace is your eternal nature, essence, and home. When you're not at peace, it is because you are somewhere within your heart and mind where you do not belong. When you notice this, simply take a deep breath, stop that line of thinking, realign your thoughts with love, share your love with others, and then doing so once again become the loving light of the world that God created you to be. All right. And so today's daily inspiration is the idea of practicing seeing only the truth in your brother and sister as true. Okay. So you only see the love in them, love in them as true. Only the eternal in them as true. Everything else is just a projection of the ego. And so if the love in you is what's eternal and true, then anything that opposes that love is not real and not true. But the ego has you focus on the not true to try to separate you from God. And so it has you focus on judging your brother or sister as less than God's creation, being angry, being resentful, being jealous, being hateful. All those are expressions that you're out of alignment with the mind of God, which is the eternal in you. And so all we're being asked to do today is no matter what a person thinks, says, or does, it doesn't matter. We're going to go past that and see only the truth in them as true. And so either everything that comes from them is love or is a call for love. And that's it. We're gonna simplify our life today. Everything, no matter what the ego says that our brother or sister says or does, simply love or a call for love. And so we're not going to get bogged down in the ego's judgment-centric, fear-based mindset. And so that is our goal today. Any comments or questions?
Where can I get a copy of that lesson or whatever, the first part that you wrote? Is that in your book or something?
Yes, you go to my website and then you go to the daily inspirations, the condensed versions, and then you go to the October 13th condensed daily inspiration.
Okay, thank you.
And yeah, I think if you're signed up for the email, you get them every day. You should get them every day at least.
Okay, I'll go back and look for the 13th.
Yeah.
I think I get them weekly. Well, maybe I get them daily.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's a possibility.
Okay. So James, the souls are eternal. So where does it come the expression old souls? Like, is there like some old soul they're created in different time than others? How does that work?
Yeah. When exactly each and every one of our souls was created, that's above my pay grade. I was just going to tell you that they were all created from source, right? And so there was a moment in eternity where God thought, and that thought became you. And so perfect love thought, and so that's who you are. You're perfect love. Now, how many lifetimes we need to remember that and then be an expression of that? That's up to our own individual experiences. So when you're talking about all souls, you're really just talking about people who are remembering who they truly are. And so if there's somebody who kind of remembers who they truly are, somebody who comes from a place of love, more often than not, then we seem to call that person an old soul. Well, obviously, there's no such thing as old. If we're eternal, then And so yeah, whenever you're aligned with love, and whenever you consciously make the choice to align with love instead of fear, it's a representation of being an old soul. Yeah. And so, yeah. Any other comments or questions? Anybody stuck this week in not being their eternal essence? Anytime you're judging your brother or sister or yourself, anytime you become angry or resentful or even sad, you're aligning with who you truly are not. And so yeah, it's a normal expression in this duality. Like you can be sad in this duality because of X or Y reason. But if you are able to process what's really going on and you see our eternal nature, and you believe that our eternal nature is what's really true, not our temporal physical bodies. Or if you know that everything in the end God uses for good, instead of condemning yourself or others for X or Y thing they did, then you're representing that eternal essence and nature of yours. And that's kind of like what we're here to do. In each moment and interaction, we're here to represent the eternal. We're here to represent love. And so when we do that, we feel fulfilled. And we feel fulfilled because we're doing what we were created by God to do. If you're being judgmental, resentful, angry, hateful, then you're not doing what you were created to do. And therefore, somewhere inside of you, you're going to feel unfulfilled. You're going to feel like a sense of guilt and shame. It's not because God is shaming you, but because you are judging yourself for not being who you were created by God to be. And so yeah.
I'm
Go
gonna
ahead.
ask a question that I think is beyond intellect to understand, but my friend that's, I don't know if she show up later or not, but that's the question that she asked me. So if the soul it's already perfect, so why we need to incarnate and have an ego? If the soul is already so perfect, so
Yeah, because we think we've forgotten that we are the soul. And so there's a bunch of people on earth who've forgotten that there are this eternal soul, and they've bought into their past programmings. The Bible calls that generational curses, because it's something. Let's say your great grandfather learned something, right? So your great grandfather taught your grandfather how to be, less than loving, let's say. Then your grandfather taught your father the same thing he was taught. Then your father taught you. And so now you're thinking of yourself as less than love. And so people who come from heaven, they see that happening, that conflict and confusion. So they decide to come in. And sometimes they decide to experience this delusion. Let's say you're experiencing a lot of anger. And so these souls come into this world to experience that anger, so that they can learn how to release it and let it go and forgive it, so they can become a beacon of peace for others. But a lot of times you have to experience the darkness to know how to truly help heal others who are in the darkness. And so for that reason, we choose many times, most often, to forget who we truly are, so that we can dive into the darkness that we chose. Those let's call them generational curses, as the Bible would call them. And so let's say there's a generational curse of alcoholism in the family. So your great grandfather was an alcoholic. Then your grandfather learned that behavior from your great grandfather. Then your father learned it from your grandfather. And then you learned this behavior from your own father. And then you got stuck in that alcoholism. But why did you get stuck? Why did you even choose this family? Because you decided when you were up there in heaven, let's call it up there, that it would be that you can bring peace to those who are stuck in addiction. But for you to truly understand how to help heal those people in addiction, you yourself decided to become an addict. Okay? And so whenever you see addicts, what would the ego say? Well, these people are dumb, or these people are weak, or these people are not spiritual. That's the ego saying. But in reality, these people had a lot of courage to come into this physical world and become and choose to become an addict, so that they can learn about addiction, so that they can have the proper language, so that little by little they overcome that addiction. And now they become sponsors to people who are in addiction. And then these people who are in addiction really listen to the people who are sponsors, because the sponsors speak the same language of those in addiction. And so it's only because you got into addiction that you were able to become a light for others in addiction. And so when you become this light to others who are in addiction, you start to realize why you chose addiction in the first place. Because it was just part of your mission to bring light into the darkness. And there's many expressions of that darkness. And addiction is one of those expressions. But you were in heaven. You were perfectly aware of who you truly were. But you heard a call for help and healing from this world. And you said, wow, I can help in the area of addiction. And so let me go into the world and experience that. Let me choose a family that's into it right now so that I can experience it, so I can find a way to get through it and become a beacon of light for others. And so, yes, that's kind of like we choose to forget in order to experience the darkness and then help others heal from it. Now, there are other ways to help people in addiction, but let's say you're a real guru and you don't have to go through that addiction process, or you choose not to. And then you can be a light for others, but not in a way that this sponsor can be. You can be another kind of light. And so there are many ways, but that's why it's important not to judge those people who are down on their luck kind of thing, because that's something they chose to experience in order to heal it and help bring a little bit of light into the world where there's too much darkness.
Yeah, I had an uncle that he was an alcoholic, but he didn't make it.
Yeah. Sometimes we don't make it, but again, we're eternal, right? So he'll try again, I'm sure. And next time he'll probably do better because now he's got some memories of what not to do. So again, that's a little bit above our pay grade, but that's basically what it is. Yes.
It was more because if you're already God, so God needs to it's expressed in each one of us, in different ways. But so it was just confused because okay, if we are God, so but we still have imperfections.
Well, the thing is, let's go to the beginning, right? Let's remember in heaven, at least in the biblical sense, as I understand it, there was a battle, right? First, Satan, he decided that he wanted to be God, right? And one of the laws of God was free will. And so a third of the angels sided with Satan, right? And then there was a big battle in heaven. And a third of the angels were cast down into, some people call it hell. And so we were all love. We were all created from love. But one of the universal laws is free will. So if you think of yourself as something other than love, God is going to let you experience it. Okay? And so, yes, you don't have to experience something other than love. But if you choose to, and you have free will, you have every right to do it, according to God. He's not going to stop you. And so, let's say we were maybe we were some of those angels who chose to experience a story that says that there is an opposition to God, that there is an opposition to love. And so here we are, we're trying to rediscover if this is real or not. And so we're playing that game right now. And little by little, we can choose to continue to play the game or decide to remember who we truly are. And so again, it's we're eternal. So this is just a little game we're playing right now. Yes, in the physical form, in the ego's world, sometimes it looks pretty cruel and pretty chaotic. But that's just what we've chosen. And so, why we choose what we choose in this physical form, maybe we'll never know. But once we return back home to heaven, we'll understand why we chose this experience.
Right.
And so, if you trust that you chose this experience along with God for your healing and awakening, then you're going to have peace throughout it. If you decide that you did not choose this and that you're simply being tortured in this world, then you're never going to have peace in this world. And so those are just choices that we make.
Right.
Yeah, those are very esoterical ways of thinking. And so whenever we talk about esoteric thinking, it can be very large. And so it's tough to put it into language. It's tough to put this into language. So the idea is not so much to think about this huge picture of everything, The idea is to be in the holy instant, come to the now. Okay, practice coming to the now. You forgive the past. Okay. You put the future in God's hands. You return to the holy instant in time, the only time that's really real. Okay. And then in that moment, you listen to what expression of love the moment and those in it are requesting, and then you be that for them. And that's our only job. That's our primary job on earth, is to, in each moment and every interaction, listen to what expression of love we can be for self and others, and then be that. And so that's what I like to do. Let's simplify today. Let's focus on the now. Let's focus on being love in the now, choosing love over fear, choosing compassion over condemnation, choosing forgiveness over judgment. Okay? Those are the simple little things we can do right now. And that proves our eternal loving essence in nature. That reinforces who we truly are. And so we don't have to think about whatever this huge picture is of how things started and all that. That's up for debate for other people. We all have our thoughts on that. But what we can really do is just return here, return to the now, and be love in every moment and every interaction. That's all you're really asked to do. And if you do so, you will feel fulfilled, because you're doing what God created you to do, to be a light in the world. And so that's our focus for today's daily inspiration, is how can I be love in this moment? Let's say my brothers and sisters are arguing with each other, right? Okay. And you're in that moment or interaction with them. Okay. I'm listening to them. They're judging each other as wrong or whatever. Okay, my function in that moment is to help lead them to a place of maybe forgiveness, or maybe compassion, or maybe understanding. Okay, so that's the work that I have to do right now in this moment. That's what God put me here for. If your brother or sister is fearful, or they're doubtful, or they're worried, or they're anxious, what's my job right there in that moment? Okay, I'm listening to my brother or sister. They're anxious, they're worried, they're doubtful, they're fearful. Okay, what's my job? My job is to help them find a little place of peace within them, a reminder that peace is still available to them. So maybe I talk to them about how when I used to be worried and anxious, I started to practice trusting God more. And the more that I practiced trusting God, the less worried I became. And so maybe I'm a guide for them to have a certain level of peace in that moment. And so in that moment, you become that symbol of peace, that sign of peace. That sign of if they trust God more, they worry less. And so that's my job in that moment. And so life is a lot simpler than what the ego would have you think. You know, that's always your primary job. Be loved now, in whatever way that I can be, over and over again, in whatever situations that God puts you in. Whoever God sends your way, just listen to them with a non-judgmental ear and listen to what they're going through, and invite the Holy Spirit in or God in and say, God, what would you have me think, say, and do? And then think, say, and do only that. And so it's useful to practice humbling yourself, humble yourself, then take a step back and invite God in, the Holy Spirit in. And say, Holy Spirit, what would you have me say to my brother or sister? God, what would you have me say to my brother or sister? Jesus, what would you have me say to my brother or sister? And then do that. And so you never have to worry about what to think, say, or do, because you have a direct channel to what to think, say, or do. All you have to do is ask love. What would love have me think, say, and do right now? And then think, say, and do only that over and over again. And so you never have to worry about what you think, say, and do. Any other comments or questions in regards to that? Anybody having any judgmental thoughts, anger thoughts, thoughts of resentment or fear in regards to the upcoming election? No? So either everybody's enlightened or people just took a nap. Okay. Wendy, any other questions about this?
Well, I like your explanations, because when I tried to look in the book about what it talked about with death, it was not comforting to me at all. So I much prefer you in this regard. I don't have any other questions. I was sort of just, your voice is very soothing, and I didn't sleep last night, so I was just listening.
Yeah. Yeah, when somebody passes away, it's rough, you know? It's okay. You have to be okay to feel whatever it is you're feeling. That's the first thing. Feel whatever it is you think you need to feel when somebody passes away. There's nothing wrong with that. If you want to feel sad, feel sad. There's nothing wrong with feeling sad. If you want to feel depressed for a while, feel depressed for a while.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with that. You have to allow yourself to feel whatever it is you need to feel, and let that play out. Because remember, there is in essence no time, and you're always co-deciding your journey with the divine. And so whatever it is that you're going through is perfect for you, as Mike would always say.
He does always say that.
Yes. And so that sorrow that you feel about your friend's passing, be sorrowful. Cry. But remember, your friend also, you have to remember about where your friend is at right now, right?
Yeah.
So your friend is in heaven, right? In a heavenly state of mind right now. And she just doesn't really want people sad and depressed about her passing. She really doesn't want that. She wants people to be happy about her life and celebrating her life and what she did in life, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, go ahead and feel your feelings, but then remember what your friend really wants for you. How would my friend want me to live the rest of my life? And in that place of perfect understanding and perfect love, they want you to be happy. They want you to be joyful. They want you to feel fulfilled. They want you to complete your mission as the light of the world that God created you to be in your own unique ways. And so we have to be a little I don't want to say less selfish, but a little less selfish. And just think about, okay, I'm feeling this way and that's fine. I'm gonna go ahead and process it, you know. But then ask yourself, how would my friend like me to honor her? How can I best honor my friend? And that's to each and every moment and each and every day be a light in the world for others.
Okay.
And so yeah.
Do you believe in signs after somebody dies?
100%, 1,000%. Yeah, of course. Like whatever, what was she let into? Like butterflies, or what kind of a signs do you think she would send you?
Well, she loves nature, but I was thinking she sent me a sign because she died on Rosh Hashanah. She died last Saturday, but I didn't know it until last night. And the cancer had gone to her brain, so we couldn't really text anymore. And she just texted me a garbled message a few
Yeah,
weeks ago after her birthday, but I was happy because I thought she's trying to talk to me. And then, I was just heartbroken, but I realized today that I've seen flowers bloom before when people die, in unusual ways. And I have an orchid, and I'm terrible with plants, and I never can keep them alive, and orchids especially. But I like them, mini orchids, and usually the flowers just all fall off, and that's the end of it. And this one, that is what happened. It's when I kept in my house, all the flowers fell off, but this has never happened before. A bud appeared last week and it bloomed, just one single orchid on this tiny little mini orchid plant, but its petals are green. They're not white. They were all white orchids, and this one has green petals. And so, because I kept thinking, I found out Sunday night, last night, that she died, and I was like, please send me a sign. And I didn't sleep all night, and I wanted a dream. I wanted a bird. I wanted whatever. And then today, when I was at work, I thought about that orchid, and I thought, that was right about when she died. I wonder if that was her. But I don't know if I'm just making something because I want it, you know.
well, it probably was. I mean, green is the color of healing. So, she wants you to be healed for sure. She wants you to heal. And yeah, I 100% believe in signs. And yeah, I love orchids too. And yeah, your friend will send you some signs. Maybe she'll even come in your dreams sometime.
I would like that to happen.
Yeah. And so if you can, every night before you go to sleep, spend 5 minutes thinking about her before you go to bed.
Okay.
And invite her to come into your dreams. And sooner or later, she'll come in. Sometimes it takes a little while for them to process whatever it is they're processing. And but once she does, maybe the third day or so, something will happen. So she'll come into your dreams. Just keep asking and asking how she's doing. And she'll come into your dream and she'll tell you that she's fine. And
That,
then you'll remember, and then you'll have some peace.
that's what I want, because I know, I don't know if I'm out of alignment because I'm so sad, but I think it's normal because she died. But if you remember, I was just very worried that she was suffering at the end, and I didn't know. I couldn't know. And so I do want to know that she's okay.
Yeah.
So I'll ask for her to visit. Thank you.
Yeah, yeah. Ask her to visit for sure. And she will. Any other comments or questions? Mm, Any other anybody having issues this week on their level of peace?
Oh, a bunch of happy people.
I know everybody. Everybody in my group is self-actualized. That's
Okay, well, not me. So since nobody else has anything, I do want to know why these experiences have a tendency to make, I don't know if it's just me, maybe it's everybody, other people would have to tell me. They make me feel very alone, very, very separate. I just
Uh,
feel heartbroken, like the whole world goes on and
yeah, yeah,
it shouldn't.
yeah. It's always incredible how the world just goes on.
Yeah,
Somebody passes, and you're like, shouldn't the world stop for a little bit,
yeah,
and
uh,
mourn with me?
yeah. That's
But
what it,
no, no, it goes it just like normal. Everybody's doing their thing. Your friend passes, your family member passes, and things just keep going. And so, you know, it is what it is. You have to experience whatever it is you're experiencing. You got to feel whatever it is you're feeling and process it, and you'll learn something from it. And in the future, you might help somebody who goes through that process. You know,
yeah,
you know, and then so just kind of like be in your process and see what helps you. You know, what kind of things that you can do that brings you a little more peace, or what kind of, or maybe who you talk to that brings you a little joy, and you do the little things, little baby steps, like we always talk about. So from What About Bob, the movie,
what about Bob?
yeah,
I think I thought because of the Course in Miracles that I wouldn't feel like this. And I think that it causes me some dissonance.
yeah, that's the ego thinking.
Yeah,
The ego is always about judging self and others, because that's the fuel source for the ego is that judgment.
yeah,
And so the ego has to put you down in some way, shape, or form, so that it can survive and thrive. And so that's what it is. The ego attacks when you're down, you know, kicks you when you're down.
eh,
Uh,
yeah,
Yeah. And so, but the Holy Spirit would say, you know, we're all eternal. Feel whatever it is you need to feel, process your emotions, take a few days off, find ways to find a little peace of mind and joy, and maybe go ahead and watch the movie. What About Bob? Maybe watch a couple comedies that you kind of like, that you haven't seen for a long time, just to break that continuous emotion of sadness.
Well, oddly enough, on my way to work, my sister told me a crazy joke and I just burst out laughing. And I couldn't believe that that was my reaction, but it was. So I think you're right. It feels weird to watch a comedy, but I may do it.
Yeah, yeah, because your friend wants you to be happy, you know, and so just take the time that you need, and
Yeah,
then start doing things that bring you joy and peace.
yeah,
And it's okay, if you align with divine timing, then you're always going to have peace regardless of what you're feeling, because you know that everything is going to happen at sacred pace. But if you allow the ego to have you focus on the ego's idea of timing, that I should be peace now, or joyful because I studied the course for a year or whatever. That's all the ego, you know.
it's not that I thought I would be joyful or anything. I just didn't think it would feel this lonely, this dark. You know what I mean? Like I just thought that I would feel a little more like it's okay. Like even if I'm sad, it's okay, but I don't feel like that. But I will as soon as I see her in a dream.
Yeah, yeah, yes. Any other comments or questions?
It's funny, every time somebody dies, I don't feel sorry for them. I actually feel like going with them. Because I would not like to, if you ask me, you want to die? No, I don't want to die. I still have a lot of things to do here. Also, I am afraid of suffering in order to die. But the idea of living on outside of the duality, it's very appealing to me, And every time somebody dies, I just keep thinking of them of being in a better place. And the people that stays are I think are the ones that suffer the most. But I mean, yeah, so it's a little bit actually of the fear of dying, but at the same something that really attracts me, the idea of dying, which is a little weird. But
Well, that's because in some ways that's our job. Our job is to bring that oneness into duality, right? So anytime you have that emotion of I want to be back with oneness, it's something that you can do here in duality. That's why you're here anyway. You're here to bring oneness into duality. You're here to bring light into the darkness. And this is where God needs you right now. If he needed you in heaven, you would be in heaven. So God needs Wendy right now on earth, and God needed her friend in heaven for X or Y reason. Who knows what that is, but that's where she's needed, and that's where she is. And so yeah, it's always an honor to be called back home. But as long as we're here, we have a job to do, and that is to bring that oneness, that sense of oneness into duality. As long as God allows us to do so here on earth.
So you think it's possible to be here without being affected by the duality?
Yeah, I mean, in essence, that's our job. That's our job in every moment in interaction, is to bring that sense of heaven onto earth. And so you feel that you want to be in heaven because that's your job right now. Your job is to bring heaven into this duality, the heavenly state of mind. And so the more you, in each and every moment you have free will to bring heaven onto earth. And that's your job in every moment in interaction. And so let's do our job. And the more we do our job, the more we live heaven on earth. And so that's we're supposed to be those little lights. We've been sprinkled around the world to be those reminders to others that heaven is possible in every moment and interaction and every day. And so yeah, that's our job in essence, to bring heaven onto earth, to bring oneness into duality, to remind those in duality that they have another choice, that there is a better way. And so the more you do so, the more you reinforce the heavenly mindset, and the more you get to live heaven on earth. The less you judge, the more you live heaven on earth. The less you hate, the more you live heaven on earth. The less you focus on fear and anxiety, the more you live heaven on earth. And so that's our job. Bring heaven into earth. Any other comments or questions? Okay, maybe we can do another one then, since we have like 10 minutes or so.
Yes, please.
All right. I'm going to repeat them. Creating a kinder world. That's October 7th. October 8th, experiencing our wholeness by gifting it away. October 9th, understanding the acts of frustration and anger. October 10th, forgiveness, peace, joy, and gratitude as core inherent values. October 11th, today, enjoy the bounty of your harvest. October 12th, releasing the present from the past and future. Any of those?
If nobody else has one, I'd like to understand the one about anger and frustration.
Anger and frustration. Okay. Okay, this is the October 9th daily inspiration, understanding the acts of frustration and anger. It's 2 paragraphs, and this is paragraph 1. When we act with frustration or anger towards self or another, what the ego is trying to do is separate us from our true loving essence and from each other. We are all one. But if the ego can convince us that we are not all one, that we are separate from each other, then it can also make us think that we're separate from God. The ego tries to convince us that if we experience and express judgment, frustration, and anger, then we obviously cannot be a part of our perfect, all-loving source. If we feel separate from God, then the ego knows that we will look to it for safety and support. If we feel separate from others, then the ego can convince us that we can judge them without hurting ourselves. Judgment is the ego's primary tool and fuel source. As long as we use the ego's tools, such as those of judgment, frustration, and anger, the ego gets to survive and thrive in us. This is why it needs to convince us that it is safe to judge others. It does this for its survival, not ours. Knowing this, let us look for a better way of coexisting with each other, a way that supports the loving truth in us and not the ego. Paragraph 2. Today, let us practice going from a mindset where the ego's programs are in control to one where our eternal loving essence is back in the driver's seat. Judging self and others' frustration and anger are a few signs that show us when the ego's mindset is in control of our thinking. A few signs that show us when we are back in control of our thinking is gratitude, forgiveness, and trust in the divine. First, let us be grateful to others for offering us the opportunities to deprogram ourselves from the ego's tools and mindset. Second, let us forgive our brothers and sisters for whatever we have been programmed by the ego to judge and condemn them for. Let us forgive ourselves for judging them. Third, let us place our trust in God's plan, in the divine design. We can do so knowing that God is love, and we will use all our experiences to help us grow, heal, and awaken us to our truth, to our eternal loving essence and nature. And so this is simply saying that learn what the symbols of the ego are, the signs of the ego are, and learn what the symbols of love are, of truth are. And so it's kind of like you're on a highway, right? And then you have certain signs that show you, okay, if I take this exit, the exit of anger, of judgment, of hatred, then I'm going to be out of alignment with my true mission in life. And so simply learn to recognize the signs when you're out of alignment, the signs of when you're in alignment. And so once you practice recognizing it and knowing the signs of when you're out of alignment, then the quicker you can realize when you're out of alignment. And the quicker you can get back into alignment. And so it's not about punishing yourself when you're angry, when you're sad, when you're resentful, when you're hateful. It's not about that. It's about just reminding yourself, okay, this is somewhere where I do not belong. I don't belong supporting the ego's mindset and tools. I'm not, I'm not here to add darkness to the darkness. I'm here to bring light into the darkness. So this anger, this judgment, this hatred, these are symbols of the darkness. I'm here to bring the light in. So then I remind myself, this is not what I'm here for. I'm here for this. And so the more you get to practice shifting, going from out of alignment to alignment, the quicker you get back into alignment when you're out of alignment. And so what we want to do is we want to offer our gratitude to all those people who helped us practice this shift. Because all those people in the past who helped us practice shifting from fear to love are those people who are helping us become a more heavenly beacon of light for others when the difficulties of the duality of the world come in. All right. Any comments or questions?
That was really helpful. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Yeah, so here says, first, let us be grateful to others for offering us the opportunities to deprogram ourselves from the ego's tools and mindset. And so let's say somebody triggers you, okay, and you judge them for that. You have to ask yourself, what are they really doing? They're helping you see that you don't want to react with judgment. And so they're helping you see that when you react with judgment, you don't have peace. And so they're just helping you practice realizing what you do not want. And by knowing what you do not want, it helps you get a clear picture of what it is that you do want. And so even when we're stuck in the darkness, this is an opportunity for us to practice realizing where we do not belong and what we do not want. So if we are able to see that as helpful, helping us remind us what it is we're here for, then gratitude becomes a response to the quote unquote darkness, to the quote unquote bad stuff that happens to us in life. And so what if you had gratitude for even the bad in your life, the quote unquote bad in your life? How much more peace would you have? What, you know, you would become such a brighter beacon of peace for others when you can even have peace in the darkness, when you can even be a light in the darkness. And so that's a little bit about what this says. All right.
Yesterday, people were commenting while we were in person, that when somebody triggers you, you have to have unlimited patience and all this. And recently, with me, it happened a series of events with different people that I had to stop people that were abusing me in a way. And in some cases, I was not very nice, But when I did that, something amazing happened after, because the person started like respecting me more. And then right after, I saw like some rewards for stopping that abuse that was happening, and it happened like in total different situation. First, first I got divorced, and I am super happy that I did. Some situation at my work that I also had to stop some abuse. And then right after became a reward from my, the top, the CEO came to me and said, amazing job, and all this thing. So, so I think sometimes in the spiritual, people tend to think that you just have to be patient, and in a way, sometimes you get abused thinking like that. So, and I heard you saying many times, you know, putting loving boundaries, you know, how important it is that, you know, and not thinking that just because you're spiritual, you have all just to, you know, I don't know what you think about, you know, Jesus, like you slap on one side and then you give the other one. It was not the best for me to keep doing that, you know. I had to stop the abuse in order to.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's beautiful. Yeah, you decided that there were boundaries that were being crossed, that weren't proper, and you stood up for that. I said, no, you know, these are my boundaries. Okay. I can set loving boundaries because that's an expression of love. I'm setting loving boundaries for myself. Okay. And so whenever you set loving boundaries from a place of love, that's not only good for you, but it's good for everybody around you. And so, yes, only because you know sometimes we have to be a little bit straightforward, but we do it straightforward from a place of love, then that's perfectly fine. You know, there's nothing wrong with that. Yeah. And so, you know, you did it and something good came out of it. That's great. Yes. Being spiritual is not, it's not quote unquote being a doormat. Okay. That's not what being spiritual is you knowing that, you know, you should be treated with respect as God's child in creation. And if you need to put those boundaries, you put them up. That's perfectly fine. And so congratulations.
And as you said, you know, after that, I felt peace.
Yeah.
So I know it was the right thing to do.
Yeah.
That's the way, you know, the best way, like that you don't get confused by the ego telling you, but how you feel. If you're at peace, then all good, right?
Yeah. Any final comments or questions before we close? All right. I put a loving boundary around the time for 9 p.m. for all of us, so all of us can go to sleep. And Wendy, we'll pray for you. We'll pray for your peace.
Thank you.
We'll pray for your friend too.
Thank you.
Yes.
Her name was Susie.
Susie, we'll pray for Susie. Yes, I'll pray for her tonight. And in time, she'll come into your dreams. Yes. Just keep it open.
Thank you, James. Thank you, everyone.
Good.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you all.
Thank you.